Go Ask Alice, September 7th. Last night was the bitter end. Mom and dad flowed tears and flowers about how much they love me and how worried they've been about my attitude since I got back from grounds. They hate my hair, which they still want me to wear in a flip like the kiddies, and they talked and talked and talked, but never once did they even hear one thing I was trying to say to them. In fact, in the beginning, when they were telling me about their deep concern, I had the overwhelming desire to break down and tell them everything. I wanted to tell them. I wanted more than anything in the world to know that they understood. But naturally, they just kept on talking and talking because they are incapable of really understanding anything. If only parents would listen. If only they would let us talk instead of forever and eternally and continuously harping and preaching and nagging and correcting and yakking, yakking, yakking. But they won't listen. They simply won't or can't or don't want to listen. And we kids keep winding up back in the same old, frustrating, lost, lonely corner with no one to relate to, either verbally or physically. However, I'm lucky I have Roger, if I really have him. September 9th. Another sock in the belly day. Roger is definitely going to that military school, and the first time he'll be home is Christmas. And maybe not even then. His dad went there, and his grandfather did too, so I guess he's almost obligated to go. But I need him here. Not there in that idiot school marching around for a whole year. Now we'll be a whole continent away. I wrote him a 10-page letter telling him I'll wait for him, even though in his last letter, he told me that he expected me to date and have fun. But how can I have fun in this hole? September 10th. I was so depressed about Roger that I walked down to look at clothes in the boutique where Chris works. It was almost her coffee break, so we went next door to have a Coke, and I told her how low I was because of Roger. She immediately understood. It was great to have someone again that I could talk to. When we got back to the store, she gave me a little red candy type thing and told me to go home, take it, and listen to some groovy music. She said, "This heart will pep you up like tranquilizers slow you down." And she was right. I've been using too many sleeping pills and too many tranquilizers. I don't know why that dumb doctor didn't give me something to make me feel better instead of something to make me feel worse. I've been feeling great all afternoon, feeling like living again. I washed my hair and cleaned my room and ironed and done all the things that mom has been nagging me to do for days. The only problem is that now it's night and I can't seem to turn the energy off. I'd stay up and write to Roger, but I just wrote him a giant letter yesterday and he'd think I was some kind of nut. I guess I'll just have to waste one of my good sleeping pills to stop it. That's life. See ya. September 12th. Dad and mom are constantly harping about the way I look. They keep saying that they know I'm a good, sweet girl, but I'm beginning to act like a hippie, and they're afraid the wrong kind of people will be drawn to me. What it amounts to is they are so ultra conservative that they don't even know what's happening. Chris and I talk a lot about her parents and the establishment. Her dad is an executive with a breakfast food company and he travels a lot, often in the company of other women, she confided to me. And her mom is such a devoted club and civic minded woman that the whole town would probably fall flat on its face if she took an evening off to listen to her daughter. Mom's the pillar of society in this town, Chris told me. She holds up everybody and everything but me, and man, have I been let down. Chris doesn't need to worry. Chris doesn't need to work, but she just simply can't stand it around her house. I told her I was beginning to feel the same way, and she's going to try and get me a job with her. Isn't that the greatest? September 13th. Wow, I'm really living. I have a job. Chris asked her boss last night. He said yes. Isn't that the greatest? I'll be working with Chris on Thursday nights and on Friday nights and all day Saturday, and I'll be able to buy anything my non conforming little heart desires. Chris is a year older than I am, and she's a year ahead in school. But she really is a great girl, and I love her, and I relate better to her than I ever have with anyone in my life, even Beth. I suspect she knows a little about drugs because she's given me hearts a couple of times when I've been really low. Someday soon, I've really got to talk to her about these things. September 21st. Dear friend diary, I'm so sorry I've been neglecting you, but I really have been busy with my new job and school starting and all. And you still are my very dearest friend and closest confidant, even though I am really turned in and receive well with Chris. We never get tired, and she and I are two of the most popular girls at school. I know I look great. I'm still down at 103 pounds, 103 pounds, and every time I get hungry or tired, I just pop a Benny. We've got energy and vitality to spare and clothes like, man, my hair is the greatest. I wash it in mayonnaise and it's shining and soft enough to make anyone turn on. I still haven't met a guy I really dig, but that's probably all right because I'm waiting for Roger. September 23rd. Diary. My parents are absolutely and positively going to make me blow my mind. I have to take Dexies to stay high at school and at work and on dates and to do my homework. Then I have to take tranquilizers to bear up at home. Daddy thinks I'm blowing his image as the college dean. He even yelled at me at the table last night for saying man. He has his words when he wants to stress a point, and that is all right, but let me say man, and you think I had committed the unpardonable sin. Chris and I are about ready to cut out. She has a friend in San Francisco who could help us get a job. And since we've both had experience in a boutique, it shouldn't be that hard. Besides, her parents are about ready for a divorce. They do nothing but fight when they are together, and she's had it. At least I don't have to put up with that. Also, Roger says he's too busy to write much, which is an unlikely story. Like Chris says, a man's blood soon runs cold where there is no one around to warm it up. September 26th. Last night was the night, friend. I finally smoked pot and it was even greater than I expected. Last night, after work, Chris fixed me up with a college friend of hers who knew I'd been on acid, etc., but who wanted to turn me on to hash. He told me not to expect to feel like I felt with liquor, and I told him I'd never had more than champagne at birthday parties and leftovers from cocktail parties. We all got hilarious over that, and Ted, Chris's date, said that lots of kids never try booze, not only because it's their parents' thing, but because it's a lot harder to get than pot. Ted said that when he first started experimenting, he found he could steal a lot of money from his parents, and they would never miss it. But let him take one swig out of any of their booze bottles, and it was as though they had it measured to the ounce. Then Richie showed me how to smoke, and I've never even had a cigarette. He gave me a small orientation lecture, like I should listen for small things I wouldn't ordinarily hear, just relax. At first, I took too deep a drag and almost choked to death. So Richie told me to suck in open mouthed gulps to mix as much air in as possible. But that didn't work too well either, and after a while, Ted gave up and brought out the hookah pipe. It seemed funny and exotic, but at first I couldn't get any smoke and I felt cheated because the other three were obviously stoned. But finally it started to work. Just when I thought it never would. And I really began to feel happy and free as bright canary chirping through the open endless heavens. And I was so relaxed. I don't think I've been that relaxed in my whole entire life. It was really beautiful. Later, Rich brought a sheepskin rug out of his room, and we began walking through the thickness of it. And there was a sensation in my feet that was totally indescribable, a softness that enveloped my complete body, and quite suddenly, I could hear the strange, almost silent sound of the long, silky hairs rubbing against each other and against my feet. It was a sound similar to any I have ever heard. Un- it was a sound unsimilar to any I have ever heard, and I remember trying desperately to give a dissertation upon the phenomena of each individual hair having perfect pitch within itself. But of course I couldn't. It was too perfect. Then I picked up a salted peanut and noticed that nothing had ever tasted so salty before. It felt like being a child again and trying to swim in the Great Salt Lake. Only the peanut was even saltier. My liver and my spleen and my intestines were corroded with salt. I longed to taste a fresh peach or strawberry and have the flavor and sweetness and delectableness of them consume me also. It was great, and I began to laugh in a totally mad way. I was delighted that I was so different. Everyone in the whole universe was mad except me. I was the only sane and perfect being. Somewhere in my brain, I remembered reading that 1,000 years with man is a day with the Lord, and I had found the answer. I was even now in my new time length living the lives of 1,000 men in the space of hours. Later, we were all very thirsty and dying for something sweet, so we walked to the ice cream shop, joking about the incredible high curves and the unbelievable, oddly shaped moon, which kept changing shapes and colors. I don't know if we were all really as high as we said we were, but it was fun. And in the restaurant, we joked and laughed as though the whole world and its secrets belonged to us alone. When Richie brought me home about midnight, my parents, who were both up, were very pleased with the nice, young, clean cut, gentlemanly young man I was going out with. They didn't even complain about what time it was. Can you believe it? P.S. Richie gave me some joints to smoke when I'm alone, and I want to be in heaven. Isn't that nice, nice, nice?